Dear viewers, in the previous lesson, we have studied about the nature, aims and scope of social psychology. We studied about methods of social psychology and some schools of social psychology. In this lesson, we are going to study about some dynamics of human behavior. We are going to study on drives, suggestions, sympathy and imitation. We are also going to study about instincts, reason and will. Drives. Drives are the causes of our specific behavior. There are two schools of thought, one relating to drives and another relating to instincts. A man is a servant of his needs. So, he constantly makes effort to fulfill them. Psychologically speaking, needs and drives are synonymous in character. Primary and secondary needs. A man undertakes a work under the influence of different drives. Among them, need is one of the primary drives. These are of various kinds. Nobody can exist without food and water. One has to eat and drink for the sake of existence. Such needs are placed in the primary category of needs. An ambitious person who is after high social status increases his needs manifold. Such needs come under the category of secondary needs. Behavior is dependent on physical and psychological environment. Physical environment is real, while the psychological environment changes according to situation. Physical and mental needs. Primary needs relate to body and its well-being. Secondary needs provide mental satisfaction. Consequently, they are named as mental needs. The satisfaction of mental needs has its impact on physical need and vice versa. Physical and social needs. Secondary needs are the result of social honor and status. So, they are called social needs. Man, being a social creature, lives in a society and satisfies his physical need in accordance with social traditions, rules and regulations. Consequently, his physical needs are influenced by social conditions. Our behavior is based on need, environment and physical structure. We engage ourselves in work after being motivated by need. Behavior according to environment is natural. In cultured and uncultured society or in warm or cold environment, we generally behave according to existing situations. Physical structure is connected with behavior. Even in an adverse situation, we have to behave according to physical structure. Kinds of drives. Social drives. Despite individual differences in men, there are many similarities too. So, we find some similarity in certain drives. One may have some personal drives, but there are some drives which are common to all. The common drives are known as social drives. There are 4 kinds of drives and they are self assertion, gregariousness, pugnacity and acquisitiveness. Self assertion. Self assertion is very much related to self respect. Gregariousness. Gregariousness is being social by nature. Man is a social animal. After being born in a family, he does not want to remain confined there. He tries to establish relations with people. Pugnacity. Pugnacity is not an innate drive, but it is considered as an acquired drive. It is found among aborigines and tribal people. Even today, we find lack of good social behavior in some uncivilized races. The psychoanalysts contend that such a tendency is due to the prevailing environment in such races. Acquisitiveness. Acquisitiveness is found in an individual since infancy. This tendency is found in the collection of dolls, toys, etc. by children. Hunger drive. With the decline of energy in the body, its organs also become weaker. We get energy from food. A condition of weakness appears when we do not get food. Sex drive. Sex drive is present in human beings as in all other living beings. This becomes very strong during adolescence. During adulthood, this drive reaches maturity and starts declining in old age. Individual difference is also found in this drive. Innate drives. Innate drives are present since our birth. We have not to learn them. Acquired drives. Living in the society and abiding by its code of conduct, a person strives hard to achieve social honor, respect, praise, goodwill, etc. In this way, we find that drives related to praise, power, greatness and honor come in the category of acquired drives. These acquired drives appear much after birth due to one's social environment. Need and cultural environment. Culture influences our needs in the same way as environment and situations do. Prevailing social traditions determine our needs and we fulfill our needs according to social traditions. Children are made familiar with social traditions in order to prevent them from taking part in antisocial activity. The people making investigations and researches in the field of anthropology have stated that needs are linked with country, time and culture and their universality is baseless. Protection of child has been accepted as a parental drive, but there are races, for instance Mundugumats, who bring up their children very cruelly. Thus, it may be said that behavior is in accordance with social environment and cultural laws. Some effects of needs. Our needs are influenced by our behavior. Sensitivity, perception, imagination, thought and persistence, etc. depend on our needs. Effect on sensitivity. When a need is felt, the power of sensitivity increases in the body. Hungry animal shows rapid response towards an incitement, while on fast people generally get irritated on a slight pretext. Effect on perception. A child watching a game looks towards the food only when its need is felt. The child when hungry leaves his game and runs to food. Impact of personality on needs. The influence of personality on needs is quite clear. The standard of needs of an individual is according to his personality. So, if we know the needs of a person, we can visualize his personality. The needs of a wealthy man differ from those of a poor one. The needs of a businessman and those of a farmer are never the same. Thus, often we may form an idea of the needs of a person by knowing his personality. Incentive. The term incentive implies that which encourages a person for something. We evaluate things around us according to our need and choice. A thing is good for us because we like it. We hate a thing because we do not like it. Things which have qualities of liking are called incentives. We call that thing incentive which stimulates behavior. The incentives give birth to needs occasionally. Listening to the praise and appreciation of a thing or work, we try to achieve thing or do the work. Many things present in the environment provide us incentive and influence our behavior and our activities. Attitudes and interests. It is generally seen that all living beings behave according to their needs, and in so doing they pay less attention to other things in the environment. If in search of an important thing, we overlook an unimportant one lying in the way. Psychologists have termed these tendencies as personal attitudes and interests. There are two types of attitudes, favorable and unfavorable. If we like a thing, our attitude towards it is favorable, and if it does not appeal to us, the attitude regarding it is unfavorable. Level of aspiration. Psychologists contend that an individual's aspiration is recognized only within his achievement level. The method of determining the aspiration limit has been named as level of achievement. The level of achievement may go up if the desired objective is achieved. In the case of failure, it may record a fall. Social psychology is interested to make the concepts scientific. To be scientific is to make it to numbers. Now, needs are measured in numbers. Measurement of needs. Statistical and quantitative measurements of needs are possible. The depth of needs may be estimated from the intensity of mental tension. By placing an obstruction in the fulfillment of a need, it may be understood as to what intensity the person felt the particular need. Measurement of need by learning method. We may find out intensity of a need by observing how rapidly an individual tries to learn a certain thing for fulfilling his need. Telling a child that he will be taken to a cinema picture only after completing the given work may stimulate him to complete 2 hours of work within an hour only. Interrelationship between needs. With the fulfillment of a need, the mind gets some peace. the peace influences other needs. We forget hunger for some time after drinking plenty of water. Similarly, a child engaged in some kind of entertainment forgets his hunger and thirst for some time. We pass on to the next subtitle of this lesson called suggestions. Suggesting has been defined by various psychologists in different ways. According to McDougall, through suggestion an individual unknowingly becomes the follower of others, but fails to give a reason for following them. Evidently, to be guided by others' views is suggestion. An individual adopts others' views and starts behaving accordingly. This is clearly seen during a hypnotic state of a person when a psychoanalyst hypnotizes him. Experiments on suggestibility. Suggestibility measurement depends on age, knowledge, conviction and mood. Age. Different persons possess different degrees of suggestibility according to their abilities. Suggestibility depends on 4 factors. First of all, age influences suggestibility. An individual gains in experience and wisdom as he grows. Persons younger in age have less experience and wisdom. Younger persons may easily be brought under the influence of suggestions. Knowledge and conviction and mood. Suggestibility fails to impress a person of knowledge and conviction and strong-willed people. Physical condition and mood too influence suggestibility. Sources of suggestion. The personality of the person who offers a suggestion or the source from where the suggestion originates is very important. If the person is superior in age, knowledge, experience and position, the suggestion originating from him may have immediate effect. In this context, it is relevant to point out that suggestions coming from parents, teachers, elders, brothers and sisters are comparatively more acceptable than those originating from other sources. Similarly, the suggestions of lover, people on affectionate terms, intimate friends are readily accepted. Kinds of suggestions. Suggestions are of 4 types: auto-suggestion, prestige suggestion, mass suggestion and contra-suggestion. Auto-suggestion. Not only in the sphere of education, but also in many other areas of human activity has auto-suggestion played a vital role and unique role. Auto-suggestion may lead an individual to any height. Its power is unfathomable and unique. If misused, it may also lead one to disaster. Prestige suggestion. The prestige suggestion, as the very name indicates, depends on the prestige enjoyed by the source person in the eyes of others. His character, behavior, intelligence and wisdom, age and reputation should be of a higher order. If his character is good, his suggestion may readily be accepted. Mass suggestion. Today, Democratic setup is prevalent in many civilized countries. In such a setup, the voice of masses is very important. No ruler or leader can afford to be indifferent towards masses. Contra suggestion. Often it is seen that some persons, particularly children, do what they are told not to do. In certain cases, if a child is asked not to go out of home, he will definitely go out. There are numerous such instances in everyday life. Next, we pass on to the other subtitle of this lesson called sympathy. Sympathy is a debatable subject amongst psychologists. Psychologists have different views about it. Some psychologists define it as an instinct. McDougall places it in the category of pseudo instinct. James considers it an emotion. Next, we pass on to the other subtitle of this lesson, imitation. Imitation dominates sympathy and suggestion. They are the other two dynamics of behavior. There are different viewpoints about its psychological basis. The tendency of imitation is generally present in all human beings and intelligent animals and birds. The child learns behavior through imitation. We learn sitting, standing, walking, running, etc. only by imitating someone else. Animal and birds learn their behavior through imitation. The other subtitle of this lesson is emulation and education. In education, the tendency of emulation will prove highly beneficial. The child progresses immensely with its help. When this tendency is aroused in a child, he tries to face and remove the hurdles in his way and scores his success over difficult situations and problems. It is a moral duty of guardians and teachers that they arouse the feeling of emulation in children. If this is not done, the child after his success may ultimately develop feeling of vanity. The teachers should remain cautious to see that this quality of emulation does not deteriorate to envy. Development of cooperative feeling through emulation. The teacher may develop the feeling of cooperativeness in children through emulation. In a class, he may form several groups and instill the feeling of healthy competition in the students. In this way, the feeling of group welfare and honor will develop. By forming teams of games and sports of each class, the entire school may be changed with the feeling of healthy and competition and group welfare. It will develop team spirit and cooperativeness in children. Self-emulation. The feeling of self-emulation is personal. With the rise of this feeling, the individual will constantly try for self-advancement. He will try to overcome his shortcomings. Maintaining and writing the diary is very helpful for the development of self-emulation. We have already learnt that there are two schools of thought, one relating to drives and another relating to instincts. The study on drives or needs are already dealt with. Now we are going to study about instincts. Instincts play a vital role in our daily behavior. There are three parts of each instinct. They are cognitive, affective and conative. An analysis of each instinct clarifies the nature of each of these three parts. Now, we shall analyze some instincts and three parts of each. For example, in escape, the cognitive aspect of escape is sudden natural change, loud sound and sudden high speed of a certain thing. The affective aspect of escape is fear. The conative aspect of escape is running away from a fearful thing. In the example of a combat, the cognitive aspect of combat is appearance of a hurdle. The affective aspect of combat is anger. The conative aspect of combat is fighting. In the example of repulsion, the cognitive aspect of repulsion is feeling of a distasteful thing in mouth. The affective aspect of repulsion is hatred. The conative aspect of repulsion is eliminating out the distasteful thing. In the example of parental instinct, the cognitive aspect of parental instinct is the presence of one's child or listening to his crying in agony. The affective aspect of parental instinct is feeling of affection. The conative aspect of parental instinct is love and caressing the child. In the example of appeal, the cognitive aspect of appeal is failure in combat. The affective aspect of appeal is experiencing pain. The conative aspect of appeal is crying for help. In the example of sex instinct, the cognitive aspect of sex is either seeing a beautiful member of the same race, but of opposite sex, or seeing any of his or her sex provocating physical organ. The affective aspect of sex is sexual desire. The conative aspect of sex is process of satisfying sexual urge. Repression produces evil effects, but sublimation is fruitful. In the curiosity instinct, the cognitive aspect of curiosity is not to understand a secret. The affective aspect of curiosity is feeling of astonishment. The conative aspect of curiosity is the process of knowing the secret. In the submission instinct, the cognitive aspect of submission is presence of a powerful individual. The affective aspect of submission is experience of inferiority complex. The conative aspect of submission is the act of surrender of self. Self assertion or self display instinct. The cognitive aspect of self assertion is presence of an individual of inferior position. The affective aspect of self assertion is experiencing of own power. The conative aspect of self assertion is display of one's own power. Gregariousness. The cognitive aspect of gregariousness is presence of a member one's own race. The affective aspect of gregariousness is experiencing of loneliness. The conative aspect of gregariousness is mixing up with own race. Next, food seeking instinct. The cognitive aspect of food seeking is smell or presence of some edible thing. The affective aspect of food seeking is hunger. The cognitive aspect of food seeking is searching the food or eating it. Acquisition instinct. The cognitive aspect of acquisition is seeing a beautiful or useful thing. The affective aspect of acquisition is desire to possess. The cognitive aspect of acquisition is the act of taking the object in possession. Next, constructiveness. The cognitive aspect of acquisitiveness or constructiveness is presence of things needed for construction. The affective aspect of acquisitiveness is creative feelings. The cognitive aspect of acquisitiveness is constructing the thing. Laugher instinct. The cognitive aspect of laugher instinct is the presence of a thing to be laughed at. The affective aspect of laugher is experience of enjoyment. The cognitive aspect of laugher is the act of laughing. Next we study about instincts and mind. Mind is not a collection of various instincts. Instincts are various channels for the expression of various ideas and desires. Next we pass on to the subtitle of this lesson called Reason and Will. In this chapter we shall discuss reason and will as commonly understood and throw light on their importance. Reason and will have been discussed at length in the Oriental and Western philosophies. We shall understand these topics in relation to common human activities and pursuits. Now, let us study about the meaning of reason. Reason occupies an important place in our life. We take up its help consciously or unconsciously every day. All our activities and decisions are based on our reasoning. An individual is guided in taking a decision only after he reasons out the matter in his mind. It is reason which helps a person when he is overpowered with various emotions in a complex situation. Reason points out to the sources that one should employ in achieving his objectives. It is through reason that one organizes his purposes and coordinates them. One gains a certain power on the basis of his experiences. This power indicates his reason, and it is one's reason that decides for him about the properties of a thing or otherwise. Next, we shall study about the meaning of will. Will refers to the dynamic power of one's personality as a whole. It throws light on one's main character and interests. Will establishes some coordination between one's various tendencies. The will of an individual gives an indication of the integration of his personality. In the absence of this integration, there is no binding force to coordinate different activities of an individual. There is a close relationship between one's personality and will. In fact, the two cannot be separated. Will indicates the presence of a desire, and this desire remains present as long as the desired objective is not achieved. Next, we shall study the importance of reason and will. In the absence of reason and will, man will be reduced to the status of a lower animal. Reason shows the way and will organizes power to walk on the road. The happiness of society depends on reason. Social values based on reason. Reason and will are the two sides of the same coin. Next, we shall study the development of reason and will. both develop side by side. Development of reason and will after the development of sensation, perception, sentiments. Reason guides and consolidates will. Now, we shall discuss the meaning of general will according to different social psychologists. According to Rousseau, it is the sacrifice of individual self-interest for the sake of general will. General will is always moral. It is the integration of unity, reasonability and stability. According to Engels, it is the development of state power according to the interests of stronger group of the society. State is not eternal and unchanging. There are changes in its nature according to economic development. The state represents the will of the ruling class and not the general will. According to McDougall, general will is the group mind. General will has no separate existence of its own. It has the essence of individual wills. There is no divine power in the development of social organizations. They are not eternal. There are differences in individual personalities. So, no group is capable of representing the personalities of different persons. General life is not individual's life. Now, let us come to the conclusion of this chapter. So far, we have studied about needs, drives, measurement of needs, suggestions, sympathy, imitation, instincts, reason and will. In the next lesson, we are going to study on attitudes, prejudices, learning and about personality. Those chapters are also part of the dynamics of human behavior.